Hello everyone, welcome. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. Do let me know in the chat. Hopefully there's quite a few of you here already. Welcome. Yeah, hello. Sound okay? Hopefully everything's good. Thank you. Hopefully you can all see my screen. I'll get going in just a second now. Yeah, well, thank you all for coming. I'll put a bit of news out for you lot that are here early today, this week. Later this week, we should have a video coming out, possibly aiming for Friday in relation to failed auctions. So be prepared for that. And then the follow-up video to that will then be on the Monday or Tuesday again, which is actually going to be going over market structure. So 2 big videos, hopefully, coming this week, beginning of next week, for you to be paying attention to. Hopefully that'll be really quite useful for you all. I actually appreciate that I'm doing this at a weird time, so I don't expect to be the many viewers, but again, this will be available to rewatch. So let's get into it. So first of all, Bitcoin. I'm going to go over to TradingView now. I've changed my screen a little bit on TradingView, so like just be aware of that before we get there. So this is TradingView, my new kind of TradingView layout that I'm going with, a bit of a grayscale type theme with colored candles for the higher volume candles. I'll go into the settings for this later in the stream. But in relation to Bitcoin, we'll cover Bitcoin first of all. So just go to daily chart. Okay, we've obviously seen this move. Obviously, we saw this downtrend broken. I haven't done a stream in a while, so just be aware of this. Downtrend was broken. We then seen this range put in on the chart. I think everyone really did think we'll put in this major. Just put on the hourly quickly. We saw this swing failure pattern of the high. Okay, swing failure pattern of the high, which we saw bigger drop to the downside, and then we saw this rally up yesterday. We saw a bit of a range throughout the weekend, very quiet over the weekend, before then seeing a move towards the upside. Okay, yesterday. Now, fun fact for you all, I believe it is 30,840. If I just go on the 15-minute, it's around this zone here. I posted this on Twitter as well. It has an 85% chance to be tested by the end of tomorrow's New York session. I'll tell you that now. We have a decent opportunity to be testing up and around here. Now, again, this isn't 100% by any means. And I think what's really important to note is that, again, statistics aren't 100%. This is 85, actually, to be precise, like 84.2% chance to be testing this region. Now, should we, and with that in mind, again, even with the structure being downwards, I'm going to use that to my advantage, that 84.2%, knowing that to my advantage, because if I know that, I'm thinking to myself, again, this is not 100%. There's a 15% chance we don't test this level by the end of tomorrow, right? But with that in mind and with the stats, over the course of a period of time, gathering the statistics and having conviction over it, I would favor that we do end up moving up towards here, whenever that may be, today or tomorrow. We obviously got tomorrow, we have this, I believe, is CPI. Let's just see. Yeah, I believe so. Again, I don't really pay attention to the news. I'm much just a PA trader. So we have a decent chance coming up to here. Now, with that in mind, if we just take a fixed range pull of this local range we've been within, and do let me know, by the way, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this new color scheme I'm using. Although I really like it, I'm just interested to hear what you lot think of it. We are still above this point of control. And I still, I'm going to be going off my statistics as to that 85% chance that we do test this region. Can I be wrong? Yes. That will go down in my logs and I'll be like, okay, this is incorrect. Interesting to note where I am looking at locally, where we're looking at locally. So if we just hide all of this, hide this. On the 15-minute chart, we've just taken this local liquidity. So if I just show you why this local liquidity is this one here. Shift, hold that across. We've taken this local low. Now, why am I interested in this low over the over any of the other lows that I'm interested in. Well, this is the last swing low on the 15-minute before the overall low. Why is this a last swing low? Well, you can see here you've got this candle here, this white one, okay, and then before that you've got two candles which do not breach that candle's low, the orange marker here, and then two candles after it also which do not breach this candle's low. So two before, two after, that low remains intact. This is a swing low. Again, you don't have that until the very last low here on the chart. So the idea is that, in my opinion, should we, locally today, should we lose this low, you can SFP it one more time, but if you see any sort of acceptance into this, I would then be looking for the overall swing low to be taken out on the chart. Okay, so yeah, the overall swing low to be taken out on the chart should we not hold this low locally. That's really my plan for today. And with that in mind, if we do hold this, and it does seem to hold, if it does hold here and it doesn't see acceptance into this, and this is the thing, I think really importantly with that statistic that I gave out earlier, delete all of these, coming up to this zone here potentially for that high hit rate level, right? I wouldn't be really necessarily interested, and I would pay attention to the order flow up here, but if we do get up to here, right, I would be a bit cautious in taking a short, because I know if we do get up to here, the likelihood is that even if it pulls back, the likelihood is we're going to come up to this region here. And again, I think the reason I can't share this yet with you in terms of the statistics in great detail is because it does give me a significant edge at the moment. I've generally, from complete scratch, come up with this idea in terms of creating these high hit rate levels that I'm looking at. Therefore, I don't feel comfortable giving this one out at the moment. There will be another one released this week, but this one for me is, I had to work from scratch to come up with everything. Can't just give it out necessarily yet. But yeah. So these are the levels of interest, and also with these high hit rate levels, not only does it give me certain ideas in terms of directional bias, go and watch, there's a video on this channel going over directional bias in terms of how to form it, but also it tells me in terms of trades not to take, like I'm discussing here. So obviously I said to you, there's a potential for an SF, there is a potential for an SFP here. Would I take it if it's given? Probably not. I'm going to be honest with you, because of just this level up to the top here. Again, if I'm wrong and we start to lose this low, lose these levels here, and it starts to continue heading down, the next level of interest would be a potential SFP of this low here. And if we don't get that, I'm not really going to be interested in longing at all. Okay, so that's really my plan for today. I wanted to talk about a few things though today on this stream. I've missed last week, but again, they'll be consistent from this point out. So I do kind of apologize for the slight inconsistency or missing a week or two here or there, a week. So bear that in mind. But what I was going to get into was just why people don't do things. Now, what I mean by that, I'll get into the order flow and everything like that as well. So stay around for that. I will go over that. But I wanted to go over why certain people don't do things. For example, I was discussing with a few of my students. I said to them, why, if someone said to them that they don't trade well on weekends, they'd say, I don't trade well on weekends, I'm not going to trade it. But they say they don't trade well, but they don't gather any sort of hard evidence or conviction on this, right? They just say, I don't really trade. They recognize some sort of subconscious pattern in their brain without any sort of actually definitive statistics or anything like that on it. And they go, I don't really trade well on weekends. They still will end up on the rare occasion trading a weekend, and that's going to hurt their bottom line. But if they said to themselves, or if they collected data and went, I've traded out of the last 40 weekends I've traded, that's let's say the last 40 weekends they've traded, 38 of them have been losers, therefore I'm not going to trade weekends until I either work on the edge or I'm just not going to trade it for the time being. Now, if you have that statistics there, you're definitely, I don't know what you lot think here, you're definitely much more likely to be sticking with not trading the weekend rather than just not having a statistics there. It's the same reason I personally feel like a lot of people actually end up trading this 80%, I'm doing this quotation mark with my fingers right now, 80% setup. This 80% setup, I guarantee you they have not tested this setup themselves, realistically. And I know a lot of people who are even trading this do not even test it themselves. Whereas I'm sure if they tested it themselves, if they tested it themselves, when, okay, it's got a 60% hit rate on this period of time, I'm interested in taking the trade. But they don't conduct any sort of test for themselves, so therefore they lack conviction in the trade they're taking. you know. And if you obviously had that conviction and you still, you still don't follow a certain rule, if I told you about that weekend statistic, for example, and I said to you, you don't trade the weekend, 38 of the last 40 weekends you've been trading are poor, you're losing a lot of money on the weekends, don't trade it, and you don't stick to it, then, well, then there's some sort of thing going on in your brain, and I wouldn't really be interested in trying to persuade you any further than that. It's kind of a you problem at that stage. You know what I mean? So, I just wanted to get that off my chest, just to get in some sort of like conviction to a lot of people to start looking into their stats a bit more in detail. Because if you have further conviction in your edge, or further conviction in something that you're doing wrong, right, then you're actually much more likely to stick to change, or stick to some removing or adding something to actually deplete that habit. So hopefully that makes sense. Thought I'd go over that. Just work on your edge a bit more in detail, everyone. Thought bit of a rant. But nonetheless, going over Bitcoin locally, hopefully you like the new layout and whatnot. But yeah, we've obviously seen we saw this drop. I discussed about why this low is important to me. If you break it, I'm looking for the overall low. Going over to the EXOCHARTS data itself here. Let me just move over to EXO. Let's have a little bit of analysis going on, because you obviously saw, I'm interested in these session candles, really, really nice ones here. Wow. Okay. This is, this isn't insane. This is not bullish. 30,300. 30,300. 30,300. Okay. Now, why am I interested in 30,300? Well, you can see here, this is like session candle. So each session is represented by one candlestick here. Okay, and in this candlestick here from end session yesterday, we saw a lot of movement. You open up here, wicked up, close down here. Right? You actually can see, I'm just looking at something. Yeah. You can actually see down here where you can see the spikes of new positions coming into the market. Okay. In particular, I'm looking at this spike here. You can see this spike. It's not a point of control, but it's a spike in positions coming into the market, where if lost, you would expect a large drop in price. Okay, so we can just mark this. There's a lot of these coming up. So we can mark it there. 30,300. Let's head back over to TradingView quickly. I'm interested. Yeah, that comes in really where we are now. You don't want to lose 30,300. I'm interested in the poor highs and lows on the chart as well. So we've actually taken, okay, so this is no longer a poor low for me. And I got a question, Paul, this is for you. You know who I'm talking to now. I saw it and I was going to go over it, because a lot of people are always asking for my TPO tick sizes. Now, because I use the inverse, I'm very much using, for example, my standard 50 tick on the TPO charts. But if we just duplicate this real quick, let it load up. A lot of people use the linear version for TPO charts and whatever or not it may be. And when you're using the linear, obviously you're going to have to use a different TPO tick size, and that's what people sometimes get confused on. So let's go through now and decipher what tick size I would use for the linear, because I don't trade linear. Therefore, yeah, probably why people get a bit confused there. BTC USDT. Oh, this might take a second. This will be fine. Thank you everyone for joining, though, by the way. There's a decent amount of you in here for this time. I really didn't expect anyone to be joining at this time of day. If we were doing it a bit later, probably a few more people, but it doesn't really matter. Once this loads up, what I'll do actually, we'll let it load up. But basically the idea is that when you're using, do this. This is going to be quicker if I do it this way. Ask your questions in, by the way. It'll be greatly appreciated. I'm here listening. I use ACR for tick size. No. I kind of just go off estimates, to be honest. So what I want to do now is go to here. We'll load actually like 5 days at 30 minutes. And then we're going to go and load the USDT linear, which will now only load 5 days worth of data. So it should take a lot less time to load up. Okay, so now we're on the linear. Okay, and you can see the 50 tick looks a lot different, right? It looks a lot different because each increment on the linear version is actually a lot lower. You know, it's like 0.1, I believe, so rather than 0.5. So if we just go to the tick sizes, TPO, and you know, because it's, I believe, 5 times less, we can try like 200. I remember using 200 on this. Isn't a bad option. 200 on the TPO, yeah, 200 is decent, to be honest. I remember I was looking at 200 or 180 is what I'd recommend using for the tick sizes if you're going to be using the linear. Just as a recommendation, again, this is nothing's like 100% confirmed or anything, but yeah, I'll be using the 200 if I was using linear, or 180, or I'd collect stats on whatever it may be. Another misconception I hear a lot of people talk about is just, you know, I always get asked the question, like the same question every day almost, of why do I look at the inverse? The linear has more volume, Binance has more volume, this has more volume, that has more volume. Just because something has more volume does not mean it's going to make you more profitable, like, or make you see the whole picture clearer by any means. I want to clear that up now as well. Just in my opinion, of course. That's really something important to take note of. But yeah, I'd make sure you use this. So yeah, I've always used inverse, just for myself. And if you can create an edge for yourself in something, I don't see why we shouldn't be using it. In terms of naked pointer controls, what have we got for us? Naked session pointer controls, at least. So we discussed this session candles here. What's the hourly looking like? Hourly doesn't look great to be holding this low. We'd have to wait and see. Maybe we get a swing failure pattern of the London session low. So that could be interesting. Quickly just go over to here. Reset. 12 o'clock UT. Okay, so it's going to open in 50 minutes. We could get another swing failure pattern low. I'd be interested in trading that. There's actually a lot of bearish CVD coming along here, locally at least. You mean it could be broken, but there's some bearish CVD coming along. How can we identify that? Well, if we're looking at this high here, this high on the chart here, referring it to this CVD placement here, you then got this high here, high on the CVD. This isn't necessarily bullish by any means. What I'm actually interested in is you put in this initial low on the chart. Let's create a dynamic profile tool. Really, really interesting this. This could be giving us a swing. If we get a swing failure pattern trade here, I'll take it. I will take a long trade if we swing failure pattern is low. Why? Because you can actually see, so you put in your initial low on the chart, initial low being this bottom candle here. You've then gone sideways for, I believe it's been a while now, 2 hours, almost 2 hours. So you can see the timestamps here. And you can see now that I'm looking at the CVD being 8.8 million and the open interest being positive. So CVD increasing, longs, open interest increasing equals new longs actually opening. Now with that idea, if we've got a lot of new longs opening, okay, I always go over this. If we've got, so just 5-minute chart here, if this data here is a lot of new longs opening from this point onwards, right, what does that tell me? That tells me that, well, it doesn't tell me, it tells me there's a lot of new longs opening, but it tells me that there's a lot of opportunity for stop placements to be placed. Now this is where you kind of got to use your own discretion, but where am I thinking these longs who have just newly opened from this point onwards are going to be placing their stops? Well, I'm going to be thinking underneath this low here. Now as long as I'm prepared for that, that's all fine. Because if we come down here and we stop them out, decrease in open interest, swing failure pattern, and it gives us a new long trade, that is really, really a decent opportunity. So, especially with the bearish CVD, you know, opportunity to it just plummets and you don't get into a long trade. But if you get a swing failure pattern, then you know you've stopped out these new longs here, and it's offered you a long opportunity to then target for higher prices amongst a London low swing failure pattern trade. So, again, opportunity, you could just shoot up from here. So there's a ton of different things to kind of be working on in that perspective. Hopefully this is making sense and I'm not just waffling to you lot. Just trying to convey my ideas across to you as efficiently as possible. Let me know in the chat if this is useful, because there's a few of you in here, so I'm interested to get some feedback on my own teachings to if you want to let me know if I'm doing any sort of decent job. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully this is all making sense. I mean, I'm covering quite a few things, to be honest with you. Throat's kind of going. How do I use the volume sweep indicator? Yeah, I was gonna come. Oh, yes, there's probably a bit of a delay there. In the chat. How do I use the volume sweep indicator? Yeah, I actually use. I definitely use the volume suite. So this is the settings I'm using on the volume suite for anyone actually interested. I'm actually in quite good contact with Leviathan himself, so maybe something to come between us at some later date will be really, really cool. But you've also got relative, volume, and I've got these settings on, and you can adjust it as you wish. Relative, 50, 330. I still want to mess around with these a bit more, but yeah, hopefully that makes sense. You can just test that for now. But yeah, hopefully you're liking a new chart layout. I really do like it, to be honest. It's a bit cleaner, what I can be looking at as well, in my opinion. But again, just down to preference at that point. Oh, thank you. Now everyone's coming in. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jason Casper. Nice guys over there as well. Nice people. Wasn't long from Paulo, but detected that this bearish divergence. Yeah, I think this is another thing though that a lot of people get confused on. So like, I like to cover a few common misconceptions, not misconceptions to say the most, but things that I've noticed within my own trading is that I've said this is bearish CVD, right? But this to me isn't confirmed unless we see like this low actually followed through. So what I mean by that is, yes, we can be like, this is bearish CVD. But I'm not going to like take a trade based upon these two lows diverging in terms of CVD. What I would do, okay, is let's say we saw this bearish CVD coming in here. If this just continued to break down here, and then we like saw another move back up, well then I'd be interested then in taking a short trade and in terms of like trading the trend, okay? In that case, I'm looking for lower prices. But, you know, I'm only really interested in CVD, and once we see a confirmation of a structure change or whatever it may be in that point of view, rather than just trying to anticipate a structure change happening in that on that front. Wouldn't you say that this low here on the 15-minute was a good long? Took out the poor low with trap. Yes, it was. It is a good low. I'll say that. I was kind of savoring it for a breakdown, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm just that's the truth. I'm just saving it for a breakdown. Let's go over that though. I'll go over that with you. Some good things on this low here. So on the 15-minute chart, you took out this low. So the one I was referring to just very briefly here, you took out this low here on the 15-minute, a key low, because like I said, after this low, there's a gap in price action to the next low. You saw a spike in volume by the colored candle, just as a small reference if you don't want to be looking at EXO. Trapped value area here. POC fairly near the low, I would say. You can see the spike in volume here, extended delta, where the final delta minus 2.3 million, minus 6 million. There's a bit of a gap between those deltas, causing some sort of delta discrepancies. Extended delta is what I like to call it. Again, I'm just making up terms for this stuff because I haven't heard anyone really talk about some of it. So I kind of just, if you get confused, yeah, just I guess ask, because I don't know sometimes how to explain certain things from that point of view. But yeah, you know, there's a bit of a discrepancy between the final delta and the extended delta. Trap value area, you've actually seen also this divergence here in terms of like the T-size divergences that I like to look for. Aside from that, that's about it. You know, you saw quite a few good things there. Liquidations, I wouldn't say anything significant, but aside from that, it's really good. Yeah. Massive bull relative to yesterday, though. This tiny bear CVD doesn't matter when medium time is in the floor. Oh, I know you can't see X, so... Oh, God, yeah, you can't. Okay, yeah. I mean, I was looking at... I was just explaining some very small things anyway. Just the trap value area, the minus 6 million delta compared to the final delta of minus 2.3 million. A bit of an extension there. Spike in opening... spike in volume. You know, all of that stuff that I was just discussing. Nothing too extravagant that you missed out on, to be honest. Trap value area. The fact that it's so clear when you explain is very helpful when I'm analyzing. I get confused really fast because of all the data to look at. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to look at. There can be a lot of stuff to look at, and I always go over like trying to say to people, simplify your trading thought process. I literally do the same thing on a day-to-day basis. I go, okay, what's the data for that yes no diagram? I went over it on Twitter. I'll share a link to it in a second. Actually, I can put a link to it in the chat, can't I? Yes, I can. Copy link. Don't know if that works. Yeah, it did. Yeah, I've just popped the link there anyway. Just to just in reference to what everyone's talking about here. That tweet I've just sent is not just for no reason. If you click on it, you'll see that I've created like a flow diagram, essentially, literally of my whole trading model. If I'm explaining it to a dummy, I go, "Have I done my daily report card?" Is the answer is yes or no. Have I then, is it a market structure trade? Yes or no. If it is, okay, follow this next set of rules. If it's not, okay, what's the next thing? And it will lead back to always, okay, is, no trade if it doesn't fit into my criterias. Yeah, that's kind of the way I'd go about it. You got your own Discord? Nope, I do not at the moment. Nope. Yeah, I mean, if you want to join the EXOCHARTS Discord, you'll probably catch me in there. Yeah, on the slightly higher time frame, it seems like we have made a lot of bull CVD recently in the ring. Do you think the CVD is leading, or I don't really look at CVD too much, to be honest, unless like on the 5-minute or few minute time frame, and then looking for the structure change dependent on that, as I just discussed. These lines sometimes don't really get lost. Yeah, hopefully it tries to clear a few things up. I know it's not going to be by any means clearing everything up for you. Where did you learn about footprints? Any recommendations? You know what, the truth is, I learned through working with EXO, like into more detail. I had the fair basics. I mean, the basic stuff I learned through Axia Futures. I'll say that, Axia Futures, but that really isn't to the knowledge of what I know now. Like the majority of what you'll hear me talk about, and everything you basically will hear me talk about is from my own kind of work. Like, that's the truth. The trap value area is literally from my own work and problem solving backwards. How the trap value area came about, obviously, was just thinking to myself, okay, there's a lot of volume when we reverse. How can I decipher when that happens? Okay, well, the value area is simply where the most volume is within the candle. If we close away from that value area, that must signify some sort of reversal pattern potentially, and work backwards from there. Trap to value area, kind of, that's how I came about it. So yeah, any recommendations though? To learn completely footprints, join the EXOCHARTS Discord. Honestly, like, join the EXOCHARTS Discord. There's a lot of top people in there, to be honest with you. And you can learn in there a lot. A few tips for learning stuff like this would be like just to use like typical search indexes. So what I mean by that is, if you're going on an EXO Discord, you can use their search function in the Discord to just literally search for certain things you want to be learning about. There's certain things I didn't know, and I just looked up on this EXO Discord at one point, and you have like all the different things going through it, and you can read about it as some sort of like blog or something. I don't know what to call it. Yeah. Your recent Twitter templates released the ones with the confluence on Euro on it. EXO wouldn't let me use it. Could you show how you would upload it from your file? Yeah, no, you've probably uploaded it right, but you need access to DX feed. Hopefully you do have that. You need access to the DX feed data. What tool do you use for your flow diagrams? I simply just used a tool. It was on Mac. It's on Mac. It's called like Mind Map or something. I can get it up for you now on my laptop. It's called Mind Node. Mind Node on the Mac is what I use for it. Very simple tool. Yeah. Will you reveal the blurred areas of thought process at some point? Yeah, sure. I will at some point, yeah. But it's yeah, I will. How do you identify leading CVD? There's a video I put on CVD. I recommend to go and watch it. To me, I've done a whole video on CVD if you want to use it. How you detect? Don't use CVD. I find it really useful determining biases. For example, yesterday I knew we would pump to give me the opportunity to take the short due to CVD alone. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing. CVD can be relevant for depending on what you're looking at, right? I know yesterday we had this bullish CVD. We have the higher low here with then the pump in price action. You've also got, I spent a lot of time looking at CVD, etc., and I've just come to my own discussion that I don't really need to use it too much. That's the truth. But again, for you, it's very, very valid that it can be useful. Yes. Is it possible to have workspace synced across multiple computers and so on? No, it's not. Warris, unfortunately, I do the same thing. I'd have the same question. No, it's not possible. But can it be possible in the future? Potentially, yes. Not right now, though. Are the new EXO templates planned for the future going to be for the... Yeah, there would be. EXO desktop is really only thing I work on. My MacBook uses it. My computer... I've got 3 computers. My laptop, which is like a desktop PC type laptop, runs EXO desktop. My MacBook runs EXO desktop. And my main PC back in London uses EXO desktop as well. I need some water. Okay, I needed that. What is my bias today? I mean, I covered this a little bit, so let's go over it again, just for anyone that's coming in here. Just mentioning that we have a high hit rate level, 30,830 around this zone here, the whole box, to be hit today, tomorrow, 85% chance of that happening. Yeah. There's that one up there. So I mean, I'm looking for this level, but also this is this is our local low. If you lose this, I wouldn't be interested in long until you see the overall swing low taken. Okay, we could see some sort of swing failure pattern of this low. If so, would offer an opportunity to long again, and if not, then you look for the swing low. That's the way I'd look for it, honestly. Guys, a lot of questions coming in. I appreciate it. On Twitter, have you made a tweet about productivity? Do you have some? Yeah, I use my Notion on my. Where is it? Yeah, I use Notion. I should really use I use Notion. Notion is really good. That's it. Have you got any other way of journaling trades? Other thing, put you on a 5K waiting list. That shouldn't be the case. Tag me on Twitter, right? And then tag also TradeStream, and then I will sort that. But also, if you want another one, there is TraderSync. There's Coin Market Manager. Those are the ones I've used. There's EdgeWonk, but it depends how sort of manual versus automated you want your system to be. What's the area based on? This area it's a high. It's based on my own statistics on the point of something that continuously resets. Won't really necessarily say what it is just yet. But I will. At one stage, you will eventually know what it is. I think it's extremely powerful for me. I've actually recorded the video for it already. Yeah, there's no more work to really be doing on it apart from just updating the stats as it goes along each day. Yes, create your own. That's another one. Create your own Discord. Yeah, that's a good option. Okay, so we've taken. You can see here just the SFPs or the SFPs in this game. SFP the low, SFP the high, and now we're really just sitting in between all of those levels. What's the best manual journal you would consider? The manual? If it's like you're doing everything, I'd just say Excel, honestly. Discord's quite good as well. Let's see this. What I wanted to look at, just really briefly, was where's this anchored? We have from the low. That's coming in at the bottom of this range now. Don't need this anymore. And then from low to this high. For our targets. That's not really useful right now. What do you mean having access? DX feed. DX feed. You need to purchase it on the DX feed website. Just type in. I'm sure someone can route you there, but just type in DX feed, and then you click the EXOCHARTS package. If you haven't bought that, then you won't have any access to ES data or Euro data. You have to have that purchased. Yeah. I've marked out also these naked session pointer controls, so you've obviously got this naked session pointer control up here. In terms of levels of liquidity, let me just delete all of this and licks. Okay, what I would do is low. This is only the one I'd be interested in, to be honest. Can we use Atlas instead of EXO? Yeah, sure. Of course you can. Yeah, of course you can use an Atlas. Okay. Maybe you're spamming, I don't know. But yes, you can. Of course you can. I'm just telling you from my perspective which one's better. I mean, let's get this straight. I've actually used Atlas for a long period of time. I've used a lot of these platforms that you probably be like, tested out. I've used Atlas, I've used Quantower, I've used EXO, I've used Ninja Trader, I've used Sierra Charts, I've used everything. It's just not random. I'm coming back to EXOCHARTS. Is the Forex market liquid enough to trade on the DX feed? It doesn't need to. It depends if you're just trading that, then probably not. But it's possible. If I move from EXO web to EXO desktop, any sort of minimum computer requirements required? I've heard it takes a lot of memory. 16 gigabytes of memory is fine. I'll tell you something. If you're gonna get a Mac or a desktop is different. Macs, in my opinion, handle it really well. Like the memory on them is so good. Like I gave my younger brother an old MacBook. It was like M1 Mac. It had 8 gigabytes of RAM, 8 gigabytes on that one, and it ran perfectly fine. You want 16. I would say 16 is what you need though. 16 gigabytes of RAM is good. It's fine. Aside from that, it doesn't. I haven't really noticed anything matter. I'm trying to combine trading and a 40-hour job. Do you have any tips on how to approach the charts? I don't like presetting trades, but otherwise I feel like I miss many trades. You don't need to feel like you miss many trades. It doesn't matter. Even if you end up missing trades, do not take it to heart. Literally, the more important thing is taking quality trades over just taking trades for the sake of taking them. I really wouldn't recommend you just presetting levels whilst you're at another work. I really wouldn't. Um, yeah. I would say that you should. I mean, I used to do this myself. Come home from my job. To be fair to myself, back then I had like I still to this day my responsibilities that I hold are not much. Hence, for you see me very active on Twitter, YouTube, trading, as well as trading. I think if I did have like my own family and whatever it may be, then it might be different. But yeah, I'd recommend obviously like go to work, come home, and do your levels before work. Whilst you're at work, do your work, whatever it was, and then when you get home, then you focus on your levels again. Can you make a detailed video on Atlas? How can we add footprints, CVD, OIN, etc.? I can't make a video on Atlas. I don't think that's going to be moral by any means. I literally work over EXOCHARTS. Uh, but there's videos out there on Atlas. Maybe. I just don't think so. It's not. No, I wouldn't. That's the truth. But Atlas is free, I guess, if you want to be testing that out. I run on 8 GB Mac, handles, but would be better. Yeah, exactly. I would agree. So it can run on that 8 GB, but 16 would definitely be better. Like 16 on the Mac is fine. I think on my MacBook, which is like I take about everywhere, it's got 32 GB of RAM. It's a bit overkill. It's like it never ever stops, and I've got unlimited stuff open on that. But yeah, in relation to Bitcoin, back over to this. I think levels are clear. I mean, like I said this as well, just to be clear, I wouldn't really look if we get to here. If we get to this high today, I wouldn't be interested in the short. If we get to this lower, maybe, because as I said before, just heading back over to EXO, if we're just taking that 5-minute chart quick, dynamic profile tool from this candle onwards, you can see the CVD's 9 million, open interest is like 5.2 million. Showing new longs have been coming in within this range, offers potentially new stops below this low here to stop them out before then moving in the direction initially intended. So we could see, if we see a swing failure pattern trade with like good info, that would be really nice for, like good delta, extended delta, spike in volume, liquidations, trap value area, bullish candle formation. Yeah, but there's just like, it'd be amazing for a trade, you know. If you haven't subscribed already, by the way, I'll only mention this once only. Subscribe, and also, check out on Twitter. If you're just here from YouTube, I post my intraday updates on Twitter very, very regularly, as well as some thoughts and whatever through over there as well. And that's at Luxury with an extra R on the end. We've also seen a poor high on the day here. There's a poor high on the current day so far, so yeah, it makes sense to test up here, not just leave this behind. I mean, I could be wrong on this, but I'm going off my statistics. It's not just me going off of a hunch and being like, yeah, I've seen this before, it could happen. Statistics will tell me, 30,830 has a 80+% chance of being hit today, tomorrow. That's recent statistics. Yeah. Yeah, I should make a couple of exit. That's a good idea to make the templates for linear. I think all the templates I release are in inverse form, so it might be better for everyone just to get them in linear, right? Let me know if you'd want that. That's a good idea. I really should. Do them in some sort of linear form. I think people would probably appreciate it more, not having to fiddle around with everything. I mean, since I've come on, it's been fairly slow, but that would be expected because New York doesn't even open for another like 20 minutes or so. I've just blinded everyone. I apologize. I did also mark this low out here for liquidity. This looks like really decent. This looks like a really nice low, by the way. This 4 hour, you got this low here, with like higher lows, like ripping up from higher low. Like I really like this low because then, again, below this one, although this isn't a swing low type thing, there's just like a gap in price action there. So if we do start to come back down, I would be really interested in that level there, 29,920. For a potential trade opportunity, but I do feel it's not necessary because let's talk through this. High low, look at this, right? You had these two, higher lows building up from each other. You then took them out yesterday, so it doesn't really make sense to me that we need to necessarily come back down to this low yet. We've taken, this one that got taken out, that's fine. That's a clean low. Doesn't need to be tested. These two, I would have thought, they got tested. They got swept, both of them. They got tested with this low here. So this now doesn't need to be tested, in my opinion. The only thing is this one here. I'd be interested in this. So just out of worries, I would be thinking maybe this low is tested. But apart from that, this low is fairly clean. Clean. It doesn't make sense to come back to that. Not a clean high. We've got a poor high hit rate levels above, whatever it may be. It makes sense to test that. Do you scalp the small to medium moves during the day? And if you do, could you share some do's and don'ts? I don't really scalp the small medium. I take maybe 1 or 2 trades a day, if given. Is there a benefit? What do you think of Crypto Wizards? Nice guy. I mean, he asked me to go on some podcast or something with him. I won't disclose it too much, but yeah, we were gonna do something together. From that point of view. No worries, SW. Legendary, mate. Is there a benefit to the same strategy? No, we've done that one, I think. Not such a question. How many people do you think vape smokes while trading to reduce stress also? I have no idea. No idea the percentage. I should set my alerts though. I don't know why I haven't done this already. This is the one I wanted to see. Okay. Set an alert there. So now I've price tested it. We've got the alert going off. I should really put this on charge. Perfect. Keep asking your questions, and I think it's been a really informative stream, hopefully. Bringing together a lot of the questions people have asked and whatnot. The high-low indicator, I believe is, if I the style, I can't remember which one it was. It might be the V2. I would have to double check for you, because I changed this around, I think, recently. But I'll what's your name? Let me write your name down. SB. Okay, I'll get back to you on that, mate, because I'm pretty sure I changed the indicator about, but I had it before where it did was the same thing, and such. I put the alert, by the way, at 30,000 for 345. Okay. What is my fixed range settings? Sure. So we've got this. Imagine we've got this current range, and I'll just double click it for you. There you go. So the inputs for it are number of rows, 500, up, down, 70. I think I might adjust this to 68. 70 is fine. 500, 70, and then obviously the colors are here. Very nice. No worries. By the way, guys, if any of you are watching and needing some help, oh, nice message. Thank you, SW. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. He's now a funded trader and has passed numerous evaluations. That's really great to hear. Not surprising. When learning footprints, price action, where would you start learning footprints, market profile, and balance? I have some experience, so I want to move to another level. I mean, I always recommend kind of just at first understanding, just looking at like this chart here and trying to understand this. I mean, this is what I always start out with my students, trying to understand a chart like this. I mean, it's very there's a lot of info here, but I kind of work through understanding what the footprint is showing here. Crafting an edge through many different things. I mean, EXO's got so many advanced features that you should try and use to your advantage as well. But I would start by working like this, like that way. Yeah. But yeah, and then obviously after that, I would then move over to like daily, TPO charts. There's so much that you can dive into. It's really hard to, I don't know your level to decipher which way I would say to go to next, But just make sure you've got a really good understanding of all of this, like really, really good. Really good. To me, it's not really, really good. Just understanding this template here. I probably will not change this template for a while, like long time. Everything on here is just insanely perfect for me. Well, there's a lot of you following there. With regards to candles that you discussed at the beginning of this video, where is the best place to get more info? Really good question. I'll link him in the chat. Give me a second. I'll show you where I got it from. Where is it? I'll just post his Twitter and then you can find it from there. Really nice guy. Really awesome guy. Check out his stuff, but also he's got some amazing indicators and trading view stuff to work with, and probably we're going to be working on something together very soon. So best is start with clean footprints and then start adding open interest. Yes, I would say so. Scalp Daniel, definitely. No worries. you can see this is taken, so this candle here, this just requires like whole, sometimes it's too complex to even think about trying to explain. This candle here is taking out the two last candles lows worth of liquidity, especially on the higher time frame. That's really decent. And that low comes in high, so yeah, that's decent when you see something like this. Although on the lower time frame may look insignificant, the higher time frame you've taken essentially 8 hours worth of stop losses. Yeah, when you look at it like that, you've taken 8 hours worth of stop losses. So not a decent load to be putting in here, to be honest, you know. You cannot see. My bad. You've taken the last, so what I was just discussing, you've taken the last 2 4-hour candles worth of lows, which is 8 hours worth of price action. Okay, and that is, you know, you take 8 hours worth of liquidity. And on the lower time frame, we're discussing just about taking like I don't know, 10, what was it, 2 hours worth of liquidity here on this potential swing failure pattern. So yes, this is a decent low that we swept here. Hopefully I'm explaining this stuff clear enough and it's not just ramble. Yes, now I am. Yes, trading view. I wasn't, but now I am. So for anyone that missed what I was mentioning at the beginning of the stream, I did want to mention it again. I should, by the end of this week, have a video on this channel going over failed auctions. So failed auctions on this, which should be happening this week on this channel. And then tomorrow, not tomorrow, and then the beginning of next week should be market structure. So 2 big videos coming for you fairly soon. So just stay aware. Yeah. What was I going to say? So just to clear this up, this low needs to hold. We can look for another potential, one more swing failure pattern within New York session to come. If we get, this would be the trade setup I'll give to you lot if you're not in a current trade. Okay. That I would be looking for, if given, would be this. Okay, and I wouldn't even, like, I would like to, yeah, I would say you could run that up quite a way. So like 840, you know, because of those high hit rate levels. You know, rather than just targeting a high, which you can. I would still be looking at monitoring a high here to be looking for profits. But because of those high hit rate levels, it makes sense to look for further profits and targets at around that 30,000, 840, 830 region. Yeah. But obviously you can just rally from here. Anything else to mention? Nothing necessarily. Do I use Bybit MT4? No, I Bybit, just Bybit. I mean, I use it in Silico Terminal. In Silico Terminal. So got that low there. Fairly straightforward plan, right? Well, any further questions? I'll give you a second to put them in the chat. Aside from that, it would make sense to wrap this up. yeah, well, thank you everyone for listening and joining. I appreciate all the questions asked. Again, you can go back and rewatch this. We covered quite a lot within this stream. Theories, topics, self-improvement questions. Last question. What do you think about trading with 20x leverage, and what leverage do you use? Leverage doesn't matter to me as long as as long as I'm losing a certain amount of my percentage of my portfolio per trade. I could be using 100x leverage as long as before I get stopped out before I get liquidated, my stops hit. Leverage is literally something people really do look into too much. But it's not really an important factor. Just do not aggressively use it, is what I would say. Exactly. Thank you everyone for watching, joining. Thank you everyone for listening and contributing to the stream as well. Hopefully you like the new chart layout and stuff like that as well.